Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from the 40 Principles of the Religion by Imam Al-Ghazali rahmahullah. And we are done with the practically a quarter of the book, not quantitatively, but because we are done with 10 principles from the Aqidah, and now there's an epilogue. And it's about the appropriate book of Aqidah for every phase, level of the beginning with childhood. This is the title in Arabic is في التنبيه على الكتب التي تطلب منها حقيقة هذه العقيدة. In English, it's a caution about the books from which the reality of this creed is sought. Caution, maybe. Tanbih is it cautionary or simply bringing to our attention, really, which book, rather than the word caution, because it's only about who is reading and how old and what stage, what understanding, what comprehension. And we'll read and we'll find out that it's not only about these books. In fact, Imam Ghazali will talk about other things as well, inshallah. Know that what we have mentioned in the rest of the Quranic sciences, what I mean by this is that it is a summation of what relates to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the last day, and an introduction to the creed that the heart of every Muslim must contain, meaning that he believes it and affirms the truth of it conclusively. موقنا, yaqeen, certitude. Beyond this creed are two levels. The first of them is to know the evidence of the plain creed without delving into its recondite aspects. The second is to know its recondite aspects, its inner meanings, and the reality of its outward purport. The text of the English here is not 100%. It does not correspond to the Dar al-Minhaj text. None of the laity are required to acquire either of these two levels. مع عامة الناس, عوام الناس, though it's not really as such in the Arabic. So I'll just continue reading and try to reflect later on the parts that are not there. And the word laity, probably in Christian terms, we talk about those who are not really priests, or so they're not clergy. But it's good enough to indicate that we talk about awam al-Muslimin. That is to say that neither their salvation nor success in the afterlife is dependent on them. What depends on them is the perfection of eternal joy. What I mean by salvation is deliverance from punishment. What I mean by success is achieving fundamental bliss. What I mean by eternal joy is obtaining the utmost bliss. So the part that corresponds to this, already we talk about really more than half a page that that is not directly uh, mentioned in the English translation. So we jump over quite a large paragraph and few extra lines. ورتبتان جميع ليس وجبتان أرجوع يعني أن نجاتهم في الآخرة. Uh, this is exactly what was translated غير موقوفة عليهما ولا فوزهم موقوف عليهما وإنما الموقوف عليهم كمال السعادة. وأعني بالنجاة الخلاص من العذاب وأعني بالفوز الحصول على أصل النعيم وأعني بالسعادة نيل غايات النعيم. The utmost bliss, غايات النعيم. If a sultan conquers a land, here فالسلطان إذا استولى على بلدة. Now, what's probably a word about what has been missed, like what was not translated. Maybe it was not there in the manuscript that they have used or the Arabic text that they have used in print. Is that Imam Al-Ghazali says that what he has discussed in introducing the Aqidah gradually should be introduced to the child early on so that the child will memorize that. Then the meaning will unfold slowly as he gets older. So the beginning is memorization, then understanding, then having certitude, belief, certitude, and confirmation. And he said that for a child, this you don't need proofs for that. And this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the heart of the human being that at the very beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expand, enlighten the heart of the human being without the need for any proof. And we have explained this in Qawaid al-Aqaid, which is part of Ihya Ulum al-Din. So this part, I could not see it in the in the English translation. So it was simply glossing, like jumping really over all this text, and it's very important. So we need to have memorization, we need to have understanding, but memorization is very important. It's not an alternative thing. It's not an alternative. Memorization is not the alternative to understanding, but it's extremely important. And do not underestimate from my readings about the importance of language, of the vocabulary. The more vocabulary, the wider your horizon will become. And here we talk about children, and since Arabic has really so much quantitatively compared to English, for example, almost more than double the number of the vocabulary. It could be even two and a half times. And definitely it leads to the expansion of the of imagination, of understanding of the universe. Suffice it to say, usually I give this example: a lion, lioness, same root in English. Asad and labua do not have the same root in Arabic, and we have more than 200 words in Arabic for lion, and they reflect states uh, conditions, states, different aspects of the life of a lion. The same thing applies to swords. Oh, so many words for swords in Arabic, uh, and one cannot grasp this except by really learning. Husaman Saifan and Muhannad, and the Muhannad is a sword from India, Hind, uh, at any rate. But memorization is extremely important. So we continue where according to both Arabic and English now, if a sultan conquers a land and takes it by force, then a person is saved if he avoids being killed or punished, even if he is expelled from the country. If another person not only avoids punishment, but is given a position, has his family spared, and is provided with the means to make a living, he is successful as well as saved. For whatever reason, uh, maybe I'll just postpone it. It's about Joshua and the not only the strike, there was a genocide in Jericho. Um Joshua, Yusha bin Nun, the Fata Musa alayhi salam, the youngster who accompanied the Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. At one point, he annihilates, he destroys and annihilates. Literally, it's a genocide, but it's not only genocide because he burns down the city of Jericho, the ancient one. And one might add that Jericho is the oldest known agricultural settlement in the world, 12,000 years ago, approximately. And so it means that the Palestinians knew how to till the land, how to cultivate, because they found stored wheat in jars and the carbon 14 test, and this is how they date the wheat 12,000 years ago. So we did not really have to wait 12,000 years for the claims of the Zionists that they made the land bloom. Well, the land has been blooming through and through. So the story of Joshua, he annihilated the city except for Rahab and her family, the prostitute who opened the uh, the gates of the city for him and his army. And it's a problematic text. I know from a colleague of mine in the United States. He told me that when he reads the text in with his son, he does not read that particular, like when he reads from the Old Testament, he does not read this story. And he's a political scientist and he knows the implications of such a story. At any rate, as for a person whom the Sultan honors, makes a partner in his dominion, and appoints as a successor to his kingdom and rule, he is joyful in addition to having salvation and success. Thereafter, the extent to which this joyfulness may increase has no limit. Know that in the hereafter, the creation is divided into these types, in fact, into types more numerous than these. We have explained this to the greatest extent possible in the Book of Repentance, from the revival of the religious sciences, Islamic sciences, so seek it therein. With regard to the first of the two levels mentioned, which is to know the evidences of this creed, we have placed it in the Jerusalem epistle, رسالة القدسية في العقائد, because Imam Al-Ghazali did reside in Jerusalem at Al-Aqsa Mosque in the rooms above the gate of mercy, gate of repentance, because really they are two gates, and in English it's known as the Golden Gate. والله سبحانه وتعالى أعلى وأعلم about the extent of how far did he reach in writing the revival Islamic senses in at Al-Aqsa Mosque itself, or during his journey that took 11 years from the moment he left Baghdad until the moment he returned to Baghdad. So we have placed it in the Jerusalem Epistle in about 20 pages. This is one of the chapters of the book of creedal principles from Revival of the Religious Sciences. As for knowledge of its evidences with additional investigation and a meticulous presentation of questions and problems, we have placed this in the book Moderation in Belief in about 100 pages. الاقتصاد في الاعتقاد. It is a unique book that comprises the core of theology. However, it is more far-reaching in its investigation and closer to knocking on the door of realization. Realization here is ma'rifah, than the codified discourse found in most theological books, all of which go back to creed, not realization. Indeed, the theologian is no different from the layperson, except that he actually knows while the layperson simply believes. The theologian is a believer too, who learns the evidence of his belief in order to make it certain, firmly instill it, and protect it from the confusion of heretics. However, he does not learn how to untie the knot of mere belief and attain the joy of true realization. If you wish to absorb something of the breezes of realization, فإن أردت أن تستنشق شيئا من روائح المعرفة, the image is beautiful, the metaphor there, as if basically you sniff the aroma of knowledge. If you wish to absorb something of the breezes of realization, تستنشق, inhale, really, that's the, rather than absorb, inhale. You will find a small measure of them spread throughout the book of patience and gratitude, كتاب الصبر والشكر. The book of love, كتاب المحبة. And the chapter on divine oneness, باب التوحيد, من أول كتاب التوكل, in Arabic. All of which are from the Revival of the Religious Sciences. You'll also find an amount sufficient for teaching you how to knock on the door of realization in the book, the brilliant objective, المقصد الأسنى, in explaining the meanings of Allah's beautiful names. المقصد الأسنى في معاني أسماء الله الحسنى, especially under those names that are derived from divine actions. If, on the other hand, you want explicit realization, صريح المعرفة, of the realities of this creed without any clarification or advisory notes, then you will not find it except in some of our books, which are withheld from those who are not qualified to read them. It became, in Arabic, it became idiomatic, really. المضمون بها على غير أهلها. المضمون بها على غير أهلها. المضمون بها على غيرها. It became idiomatic. So, because these should not basically be shared with everyone, not that there are secrets. Here it is explained. Beware of deluding yourself and telling yourself that you are qualified, therefore, thereby overextending yourself in seeking them and subjecting yourself to outright rejection, unless you have combined three characteristics. And I think this is the part that I said it goes beyond really mentioning the books. Here he says the first of them is having independence in the outer senses and achieving the level of a leading authority in them. Leading authority, Imam. Here, Imam is Imam fi din, and not really the Imam of the Salah. So, for example, if you speak about fiqh in the in as jurisprudence, not fiqh as understanding really the affairs of the heart. The second is the removal of one's heart from the material world in its entirety, after having eradicated all blameworthy characteristics, which will be mentioned in the foundations of blameworthy characteristics, such that no longing remains within you except a longing for the truth, no concern except a concern for Him, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no preoccupation except with Him, and no turning except to Him. The third, of course, Him really is it's about al-haq really. It's thirst for truth. تعطش لدرك الحق حتى لا يبقى فيك تعطش إلا إلى الحق, which of course both the truth and the truth. The third is that you have been felicitus in the innate disposition that you have been given, being endowed with pure natural brilliance along with keen intelligence. You are not tired by the acquisition of abstruse knowledge or the problematic issues that come with it, doing so by way of intuitive insight and inspiration. After all, even an idiot may understand something abstruse if he exerts his mind and is hard on himself. However, he only comprehends a small portion of it after a long period. Thus, only a pure heart is suited to take from the light of true realization, as if it were an immaculately polished mirror. That only occurs to someone with a strong nature and correct intention after removing the filth of the material world from his face. For indeed it is by a hardness of the natural disposition that Allah prevents hearts from knowing Him. Hardening. It's the impurities the darkness that accumulates in the heart. And of course, we don't talk about you know, the organ in itself, though lately they found that there are neurons on the heart itself, like neurons as in neurons in your brain. So that does not preclude the possibility of attachment of certain type of knowledge, whatever that is, subhanallah, to the heart itself. So after removing the filth, that's the rain. والطبع, basically as if there is certain stamp, imprint, that which has been inculcated negatively difficult to remove. Maybe that's what you know when people when specialists speak about uh, addiction. Okay, when they speak about addiction, that's exactly there's a certain a new one that's not the natural disposition anymore, and it's going to be always with the set uh, with the impurities, with the darkness that comes with sin. And I it's very sad. It's really very sad. It's very sad how far humanity is steering away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. uh, I mean, if you just think about, number one being, if you would like to qualify in principle for mukashafa, you have to excel, you have to implement the zahir. Number two, distancing yourself from the material world, that your heart is not attached in any way to that which is material. How is that even? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm talking about the way of life that is predominant today. Hajj is required. I'm talking about Mecca. Hajj is required once from the capable adult, sane, free Muslim, etc., which includes basically circumambulating the Kaaba. And God forbids that I'm going, that I will, the next phrase. But people make they circumambulate the mall, if you will, the department stores endlessly. Endlessly. It's an attachment. They cannot simply stay away from the marketplace, if you will. So if the first part is possible, second part becomes, compared to the consumerism. We are destroying the earth. We are destroying the ecosystem. Consumerism, things that we do not need. But the whole society now is basically that, what should we do? Of course, there are certain examples that Imam Al-Ghazali mentions, like Abu Yazid al-Bastami, rahimahullah. Well, Imam Al-Ghazali says that he lived in the prairies of Baghdad, meaning no house, okay? There was no sleeping bag and no tent and no GPS and no... and he literally did subsist on wild herbs. So much so that Imam Ghazali said that حتى خضر جلده, until his skin turned, green. You might take it as a metaphor for the how much consumption of chlorophyll really. Why did he do this? Because this way he can simply just distance himself from the city, from distractions of the city, and imagine the distraction that we have today. Yes, it's a blessing that we can communicate, that we can post things. You could be now on the other side of the globe listening to this reading, to this dars, but still the distraction is there. So the hardening is almost like an addiction when people are attached, and they cannot really detach themselves from anything within the material realm. And the third one, really, the natural disposition, having that pure intention, state of felicity, intelligence, Um, yeah. فلن يصلح لاقتباس أنوار المعرفة الحقيقية إلا قلب صاف كأنه مرآة مجلوة، وإنما مثل كذلك بقوة الفطرة وصحة القصد، ثم بذلك كدورات الدنيا عن وجهه، كأن الرين والطبع الذي به يمنع الله القلوب عن معرفته. For indeed it is by a hardness of the natural disposition that Allah prevents hearts from knowing Him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervenes between a man and his heart. يحول بين المرء وقلبه. And, and there was another thing about the achieving clear understanding without, because the Arabic word is majmaja wala muraqaba. I think the majmaja is not really mentioned because it should be like kind of speaking gibberish, if you will. But other than this, I think we are done. And really, the very last thing is a caution. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. We pray, inshallah, that we will be on the safe side, a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He will lead us to the straight path, to the right understanding, to the right state of affairs, inshallah, to the right relationship with the material world. بإذنه عز وجل. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.